And welcome to First Team All Vibes, your favorite sports podcast with all of the best vibes. Except today, I don't really have the best vibes for you guys, unfortunately. It is Marissa here, guys, and I am here to speak about an extremely unfortunate topic that has developed over the last 24 hours, and that is the complete and utter collapse of the Los Angeles Lakers. You guys know that the Lakers are my team, and I have been through such a wild ride rooting for this team this year. They started off being doubted, had a hot start. LeBron missed the beginning of the season, and then he comes back and they're looking pretty good. And then Austin gets injured, and they have to go through that ride. And then Austin finally comes back, and it's not looking great. But then they have this incredible March where it just feels like everything is going right. They go like 18-2. They are securing the 3 seed and beating all of these elite contenders, just to come down to this one game against the Oklahoma City Thunder that just happened a few days ago. I think it was on April 1st, April 2nd. And in that game, basically every single hope, literally, emotionally, physically, that the Lakers had came crashing down, because not only did they lose that game by, I think, 40-something points. I mean, they just got their asses absolutely handed to them. Unfortunately, they just, they didn't have it. Like, I saw a lot of people say, as far as the actual game's concerned, I think OKC played close to their ceiling, and I think that the Lakers played close to their floor. So I don't think that it was like completely reflective that there is a literal 40+ point gap between those two teams, but it was not good, and they did not look good next to the Oklahoma City Thunder, reigning champions. But as if that was not enough, just morally, for the team, the biggest issue, and by far the saddest part of this all, is that the Lakers' 2 leading scorers and 2 leading ball handlers, Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves, both got season-ending injuries in that game, both with grade 2 strains, Austin to his oblique and Luka to his hamstring. And it's hard for me to even process, like, as a Lakers fan, how quickly this has all happened, because literally just a few days ago, you had Luka scoring 40 points and everything looking great for the Lakers, and just, not a care in the world, and everyone had really high hopes for this team. And this OKC game was supposed to be this measuring stick game where, we were finally able to see them next to, like, the top tier contenders. And for this to happen is just, really the only way to even describe it is just devastating. It just feels unbelievably unfair and unnecessary and just unfortunate and unlucky for this team, who has really defied odds since the beginning of the season. Like, it's just so crazy because, coming into the season, a lot of people were really low on the Lakers, and, I think that ESPN had them ranked like 13th in the West coming into the season, and, they obviously have had a lot of ups and downs, and, they didn't always look great, but they finally got it put together, and were the 3 seed in the West, and like the top of that kind of second tier contender, category, and they were finally going to at least be able to make progress in the playoffs, right? Like, be favored in a first round playoff series, and then possibly have an upset threat in the second round series, especially based on how Luka Doncic has been playing. And now that chance is just completely ripped away, and it is just so sad, and especially for those two who really have, like, led the charge, obviously along with LeBron, but they have had to carry the vast majority of the offensive load throughout the season through the various injuries, right? Mainly, obviously, to Austin and to LeBron. And, for this to happen to them just literally a week before the playoffs is just, it's hard to even put into words, right? Like, it's crazy, and it almost certainly spells doom for the Lakers at this point. They very well possibly may lose the 3rd seed, even though they had a comfortable cushion, and even with just Luka out. And so the way that this all happened, by the way, is that first Luka got in, and they both got injured during the game. Austin, it was like in the first quarter where he kind of like turned weird, grabbing the ball, grabbing the rebound, and he kind of like tweaked his back. Well, I guess now it was his oblique. And he immediately started grabbing at it, but he played through it, and, he was shooting well. He was performing okay after that. Like, the vast majority of his turnovers actually were before that. So, it didn't really seem to affect his game too much, other than he was clearly, like, in pain and uncomfortable, kept grabbing at it. He didn't come out for the second quarter to start, which he usually would, but then they brought him back. Like, he went to the locker room after the first quarter, came back, was clear to come back, and he kept playing. And, he played throughout the second quarter and into the third quarter. And the third quarter is when Luka got injured. I think it was like 5 minutes into the third quarter. Luka is dribbling. He's, trying to make a shot or pass the ball, and kind of just stiffs up his leg in the wrong way and aggravates that same hamstring that he had previously injured earlier this year, where he missed some time right before the All-Star break, and he was actually barely able to make a brief appearance in the All-Star game for that same reason, that hamstring strain on his left leg. And so he re-aggravates that same injury and has to leave the game immediately. Shortly thereafter, Austin and LeBron get pulled from the game because at that point, the game was already out of reach. OKC was already up 30. But, it's hard to blame JJ for continuing to play them because, how are you going to not bring out the starters at least to start the half and at least give them a chance? And he did later say that's what they were trying to do. But it was also later revealed that Luka had already been experiencing a lot of discomfort on that left hamstring. There was videos of him getting, treatment and massages during halftime on it. And also, it's worth noting, there was actually a game last week, I think it was the Nets game or something like that, where he was actually questionable to play with left hamstring soreness. So this is clearly something that's been lingering for him. I don't know if it kind of reappeared after that initial hamstring injury or if it just kind of never went away, that soreness. But clearly, I think that sadly we've kind of seen throughout the season, right? With all of these guys who've had hamstring injuries, that it seems to be a reoccurring thing that if you do not really, really, really let it 1000% heal, it comes back and it becomes, a reoccurring problem. And so this is just so sad for Luka, especially after, again, this March that he's had that literally put him in MVP conversations, right? Coming into this OKC game, people are asking, will he give Shea a run for his money for MVP with these performances? They were going to play OKC twice within a week. Could Luka outshine Shea? Could the Lakers upset OKC? And that was just literally a few days ago, once again, right? Just earlier this week, he's scoring 40, dunking for that last, 42 of his 42 points. And now for this to happen, it's devastating. And, you could tell right away when it happened that Luka was devastated and super upset, and that he knew that, these guys are constantly injured. These guys have experienced injuries before, and I think that they can tell when something is more significant, right? They can tell that this is not just oh, I just kind of pulled something, or I'm kind of cramping up. They can tell the difference, and they are always playing through pain and injuries. And so I think that he knew right away that it was going to be that it was something that was a little bit more severe. And honestly, same thing with Austin. Actually, looking back, when you see the clip of him getting injured, you can see his face, and he just, same thing, just kind of has this look of fuck. And it's actually interesting because Austin's last injury, where he had the grade 2 sprain on his calf, he also played through it and didn't have that moment where it was oh, I hurt myself and I have to go out. He just played through it, and then it was not until after the game that we realized how severe it was. So I actually didn't think that Austin's injury was going to be that bad. After Luka, I was really worried about. I think everyone was immediately worried about Luka just because of his reaction and, the fact that he just looked so upset, and the fact that it was the hamstring and that he had to leave the game immediately. A lot of people kind of assumed it might be something that was a little bit worse. But with Austin, I think that was just the cherry on top, because I don't think anyone really anticipated that injury to be that severe. And, for first the Luka news comes out yesterday, which would have been Friday, the day after the OKC game, that Luka's out indefinitely, and that it's a grade 2 hamstring sprain, and that often takes 3 to 6 weeks to heal from. And then on top of that, Austin now today gets revealed that he also had MRIs done, and that he has a grade 2 sprain on his oblique, and that he is also going to be out for the rest of the season. And the timeline for healing for him is 4 to 6 weeks. So even longer. And so essentially what that means is that they're almost certainly missing the first round of the playoffs. And that means that basically the Lakers are cooked. And yeah, they will presumably be playing the Rockets or the Timberwolves in the first round. the thing about it is, the kind of ironically cruel part about it is that now at this point, the Lakers are almost going to suffer from their own success because they literally cannot fall out of the playoffs. They have won too many games. They performed too well. They earned this spot, this 3 seed, which they may lose the 3 seed now to Denver, especially because Denver just beat the Spurs. They might end up losing out and, losing that 3 seed, but they've locked in that first round series. Like, a first round series is happening with this team, with the Los Angeles Lakers, and whatever state, whoever's available, they're going to be playing a first round series. And now at this point, because again, they are out their 2 leading scorers and 2 primary ball handlers, they are basically going to be left with only LeBron James, 41-year-old LeBron James, who this whole season has been kind of like quasi-load managed, partially in being the third option and the third ball handler, and also just in playing significantly less minutes. And now he's going to be forced into a position where he's going to be having to have a much heavier load, much heavier offensive load, and, having to score more, having to play make more. And the Lakers just do not have the depth really to, even if LeBron, puts up a crazy performance, turns back the clock, and becomes even just last year LeBron, right, who still performed fairly well in the playoffs, I just don't think that it's going to be enough, even against the Rockets. They don't have the star power, they don't have the ball handling, they don't have the playmaking, even the scoring anymore to even put up a fight. I think that with Austin, they were probably still going to be kind of an upset threat, even without just Luka, but without Luka and Austin, I just really don't see any chance that they make it past the first round. So again, it's just absolutely devastating. There's a lot of things to look at, I think, when it comes to this. Obviously, just kind of, I guess, a league-wide view of this is something that's been a consistent problem for not just the Lakers, but several teams throughout the league, right? Obviously the Pistons lost Cade. Anthony Edwards just became ineligible for awards. Obviously, basically every star has missed a significant amount of time. And in fact, I actually saw a stat, guys, that the nationally televised games, only 30% of them had all the top stars available. And they basically count the top stars as all-star / all-NBA guys. And so only 30% of national televised games did all of the stars play. And so that is just kind of, I think, a reflection of the state of the injury situation in the NBA right now. And obviously there's a lot of questions as far as are they playing too many games, right? That's a huge thing. And unfortunately, I don't really see that getting changed. So it kind of is what it is, it's kind of a situation where it's well, I guess there's not really much that they can even do about it. But the other thing really, when it comes to the Lakers specifically, is Austin and Luka have been playing extremely high minutes basically this entire month. I mean, really the entire season. It kind of started off in the beginning where Austin was being played crazy minutes because Luka was out and LeBron was out, and then he ends up having his calf sprain. And Luka then ends up playing a crazy amount of minutes in January because Austin's out, and then ends up getting that initial hamstring injury right before the All-Star break. And now this, right? After, in March, I believe that they were 1. Austin was 1. He led the league in minutes in March. And I think that Luka was number 4, but he would have been number 2 if he was not suspended for a game against the Wizards where he got his 16th technical foul. So if he had played in that game, which in reality he probably would have because he was not ruled out for injury, he was suspended, they would have been literally 1 and 2 in the league for minutes for the month of March. And basically that entire stretch leading up to this game, to this Oklahoma City game, Austin was playing pretty much 40 minutes every single game, and Luka was playing at least 37, 38 minutes. Most of the time, though, closer to 38, 39. But Austin was pretty much consistently playing 40 minutes every single game. And I think that a lot of people are kind of placing a lot of blame on JJ Redick and the medical staff. And I would probably lean more on the medical staff because, JJ's not making medical decisions, right? That's not his job. JJ is not a medical professional. He is only going to go off base the information that he's given and off what he's told by the medical staff, right? That's all he can really do, frankly. But, the medical staff, obviously, it's kind of, that is their job, right? And, obviously, like I said, Luka apparently already had kind of some soreness before the game even started, had to get treatment during halftime. Austin suffers this oblique injury in the beginning of the game and plays through it for like 2 more quarters, like gets cleared after the second quarter and then comes back again after halftime. And so, there's a lot of criticism of that and the decision to keep them in the game, especially because they were losing by so much. And then on top of that, the decisions that they made previous to that in all the games where they were playing them such high minutes that you could argue potentially led up to these injuries. And a lot of people were worried that something like this would happen. And obviously there is a part, I think, that it's just luck and just them being extremely unlucky, and especially for this to happen to them at the exact same time. Like, these boys bestied way too close to the sun. Like, we all know that Luka and Austin, like, they've built this like deep camaraderie and this like brotherhood, this best friendship that has just been so beautiful to watch, and the vibes have just been so cute. And they really have this like awesome duo partnership on the court, and it seems off the court too. And for this to happen to them both on the same game, like grade 2 freaking sprains together, like it's just so cruelly poetically ironic. But I definitely think that high minutes load played a huge role, honestly, at least a decently big role in the results that we got, unfortunately. But we're gonna keep covering this. Obviously, like I said, the Lakers do not have a choice. They are going to be playing in the first round of the playoffs. I don't think they're getting out of it. And so what I think that means is that, Luka and Austin are not going to be playing again until next season. There's other factors to this, in that Austin Reaves is a free agent this summer, and he is going to be eligible for a new contract, and he's probably going to get a huge bag, or at least a much bigger bag. I think he was playing on a $14 million contract this year, so he's going to get at least double that and probably more. But, it's devastating even for Austin because, he's been playing for his contract this year, and even with Luka down, like if he had not gotten injured, this would have been a really big opportunity for him to step up in the playoffs as the number 1 option and really kind of prove his worth and maybe earn that max, right? And if nothing else, solidify that he deserves that huge amount of money, and also solidify his role as the number 2 behind Luka. And unfortunately, I think that, now there's still kind of some doubt in that. And I personally don't really doubt it. Like, I'm personally very, confident in Austin at this point. I know that he has had his ups and downs as far as like, his shot hadn't really been falling lately. Ironically, he was shooting great in that OKC game, which is just so sad. Like, oh, he finally got a shot back and now it's for no reason. But he ultimately has played such a huge, significant role in so much of the Lakers season that I personally think, like, you have to run it back. Like, you have to give them another season, give them a proper chance to be the number 1 and number 2 with a better team around them, because that's kind of the third part of this. And that is, I think that the third kind of culprit, if you want to say like the medical staff, the 82 games, and, the minutes that they were playing, I think the third kind of culprit here is the Lakers' lack of depth and their roster issues. And I say that because the Lakers are so top heavy. Like, they are so hyper dependent on their big 3. And that's a big reason why Luka and Austin were playing such high minutes. Like, they had a shortage of ball handlers. They had injuries all season, which also contributed. But like, still, their bottom end of their rotation is honestly so poor and so weak, especially compared to the other top teams in the NBA, that they are so hyper reliant on that top big 3. And so it's like, when you have all of this pressure put on these top players and they're expected to do everything, like not just score, but also play make, and also rebound, and also get assists, and also dive for loose balls and play great defense, because we have no good defenders. Like, it was going to add up in the end, and unfortunately it did. And so yeah, I think that those are kind of like my preliminary thoughts, other than personally being so sad. Like, it honestly still doesn't feel real, just because it's all come out of the blue and it was just so unexpected. And it's not like they went into a playoff series and just lost and we got to see the end of it. Like, it just blew up and ended out of nowhere. And I'm just so sad. Like, I'm happy that at least Austin and Luka have each other, that they'll have each other to kind of lean on throughout the rest of the season and into the playoffs, that they proved that they can do a lot, and that, there's still a future to look forward to. I'm at least happy about that, I guess. Like, that's the only kind of hope I can find out of this. But just devastating, and I just kind of wanted to check in because I wanted to get my initial thoughts out about it before we inevitably keep talking about it as the season goes on, as the season finishes, and as the playoffs start. But yeah, RIP my Lakers, guys. It's so sad. I cannot believe it ended like this. We literally recorded a video about MVPs candidates, and we also recorded, I recorded a video about the Lakers and their success. And I almost feel like I can't even post those now because it's so out of context at this point. It's just absolutely devastating. And the Lakers have had bad injury luck all season, but this just is really the cherry on top. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please send me your thoughts and prayers because I really, really need it, guys. I am just so sad. I feel like I can't even watch basketball right now. I had to take a break. I couldn't even watch the Spurs Nuggets game because I was so sad. But I promise I'll start watching again because I do need to keep reporting on it for you guys. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!